Welcome everyone to the Admin Arena post show. I am so excited to be doing the watch party here with some of our favorite contestants from season 1, episode 1. We're going to be doing a live breakdown and watching of the first episode together, and we'll be adding our commentary throughout. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring up episode 1. We'll watch it, and you'll be hearing from some of your favorite players as we talk a little bit about behind the scenes and some of the things you didn't get to see during the making of the Admin Arena. Welcome to the Admin Arena. Each week, HubSpot and data experts will be meeting to compete in challenges, puzzles, and games for a chance to win a massive prize. With alliances, eliminations, and twists at every turn, who is going to take home the title of Super Admin?
Let us begin again in the arena!
Players, welcome to an exciting week here in the Admin Arena.
I have no HubSpot certifications, but really want to prove that I'm the best at what I do.
To take first place in the competition would mean a success that is incredible, especially considering the caliber of other competitors in the game.
I think I'm known for being in and out of the different HubSpot communities, whether it be the HubSpot Slack channel for developers, Sprocketeer community.
I hope you're ready because you're competing for more than just a championship title. The winner of this season will take home $1,500, as well as being crowned the champion of season 1.
My HubSpot journey started as most people's, which is as a user who didn't get too much training, didn't get too much onboarding, and had to figure it out for themselves. I then spent a couple of years or so optimizing my own processes as a sales rep. Eventually realized I can do a lot better doing this for whole teams of people rather than just thinking about my own.
HubSpot ecosystem, a lot of people know me as the marketing ops fairy because at Inbound 2024, I was wearing 4-foot fairy wings.
I would love to meet Crispy there so I can kick his ass. I'm coming for you, Crispy.
As I began creating the games for
All right, so I would love to hear from all of you with your experiences coming into the Admin Arena. First and foremost, I think most of you had not really met each other before we got started with these games, right? I think a lot of you, this was your first
50-50.
time.
Yeah, 50-50. I feel like I knew half the competitors and the other half I didn't.
I think Crispy was the only person I actually knew.
And I know, like, on screen that we see a little bit of, we'll say, targeting toward Crispy. A lot of stuff got left out from behind the scenes. But for those of you who, coming into that first episode, I know some of it was the glasses, the look, but how much of the social dynamics started to get into play as we started to get into filming?
I can speak from first-hand experience. Well, yeah, I guess there's two parts to it. Yeah, I've definitely seen. You definitely needed your tribe to be able to get through some of the earlier rounds for sure.
Yeah, well, and I know that as we were getting into the games with the social dynamic, one of the things that is shown on screen here, the announcement of the prize being $1,500. I know actually one of the first things that I said to all of you as we were getting into the production element of the game was, I don't know if we'll have a prize pool. We don't have any sponsors. There may not be any money. We'll see if we can generate some prize money that becomes available. But was there ever really a draw for any of you? Like, did the prize money ever really become of interest, or how much of this was really spirit of the game?
I mean, money is never a factor.
Nope. Only here to troll. Even now, listen to the music. It's all trollage.
I think we all came in right when there was no prize pool, had all signed up from the get. So it was always about the gameplay and the competitive side of things. But when you did announce it, I believe my response when we were recording was like, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot of diapers." It became more appealing once we were actually found out that there was a prize pool involved.
Now, I got to ask, season 2, we're looking at increasing the prize pool potentially upwards of $10,000 or greater. Does that become a draw? Or at that point, does anybody start to care about the prize pool? I'll go one by one. Mops Fairy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hub Vader?
I wouldn't say no, but again, I'm here for fun.
Now, Bull, you were behind the scenes helping me set things up, but would you consider competing for 10 grand?
No, you add a comma in there somewhere else, or add an extra zero maybe, but I don't want to take that away from anyone else. But I had so much fun helping you on the back end too, though. That was invaluable experience. So, but you'll also attract way more in a different set of people with that set of prize money too. So everyone's got to gear up for season 2.
That's true. Yeah, we're definitely going to have, I think, a wider set of contestants. And again, I think pretty much everybody who came into this, well, I know for season 1, it wasn't about the prize money. I'm sure season 2, it becomes a little bit of a factor. I mean, when we start looking at giving away $10,000+, obviously that starts to change the game a little bit for some of us, because that's definitely not insignificant. Matt Maker,
yeah, I'm
$10,000 on the line.
Still here for the bragging rights primarily, but to make an equivalence in the same way that Mops Fairy did, that's like a couple months of preschool. Like, that's big.
Definitely not nothing. And Rev Optimus Prime.
The way that I would see this is if that was us back then and you said there's a 10K prize, I think you'd have attracted such a large amount of people that I'd be even more worried about the caliber of people that we'll be coming up against.
That's true, because I think that although everyone came into season 1 for the fun and we really didn't know what the prize money was going to be at, actually even the winner of season 1 didn't get told until literally the finale. And I was like, oh, by the way, here's how much the amount is. So really, we had no idea until we were in that final stretch how much the sponsor committals were going to be, how big this may become as a show. And I'm going to play it again in a second here. But one thing that I think is funny, just from a production element, I don't know if any of you caught this, but if you look at my video, my tile, and all of my recordings, you all may remember when we did this live, I was stuttering. I had all of the rules written out. I had a ton of bullet points to follow, but it was so unpolished. And so if you look at the background here, we have the little admin plus sign. And all of this was filmed about a week and a half prior to import. For my dialogue that you see here, all of this was actually filmed about a week and a half before inbound. And so I stitched over all of the original footage of myself, which I thought was just kind of fun trickery from a production element. I don't know if any of you noticed that none of this was actually from our day of recording.
Yeah, I wish we all had that
arena.
luxury.
I knew I needed to create challenges, which are more than just a race to build a simple workflow.
I originally started using HubSpot back between 2011 and 2013 while still in university. It's changed very much between then and now, and have been slowly picking it up more and more over the years.
I think for me, I've had a large case of imposter syndrome my entire professional world in the HubSpot ecosystem. Is that I have learned everything off of, watching Kyle Jepsen and Max Cohen on their channels. And so being able to actually come up and show that I know what I know would be a huge win for me personally.
I mean everything. I pride myself as being a really great HubSpot admin, above average HubSpot admin. But with this title, with this win, I could solidify myself as the champion.
These challenges need to test you both creatively and strategically. And that's why I've partnered up with Jack Tolley and his company, Data Technologies, for a game I like to call Dirty Data. Data Technologies has created a variety of HubSpot native apps, which are free to install into any portal. The Data Essentials app allows you to throttle workflows with customizable delays. Download and try Data's many features today. Check out the link in the description to get started. Data Essentials has one feature, though, that I love more than any other, and that is why you will be using the AI enrichment feature in today's challenge. So here's how today's immunity challenge is going to work. Each player has been given a portal with the same 210 company records that need to be enriched. Those company records have the company name provided, 3 key properties for each company: the CEO name, the domain of the company, and the industry of the company. All of you have been given enough credits in your account so that you should be able to enrich everything. You can, however, run out. And trust me when I say you don't want to be the person who has to manually update properties after running out of credits. Now, 9 of you are competing in this challenge. The player who finishes with the most points will automatically receive immunity and be safe from deletion. The 2 players who finish in the bottom 2 will automatically be up for deletion and will have to compete in another challenge to save themselves from being kicked out of the admin arena competition. The rest of you will be on the chopping block and can be voted into the deletion challenge. Now, players, open up your portals, head to your starting rooms. You will have 40 minutes to enrich as many properties across each company as you can. The game begins in 3, 2, 1, go.
So I'm actually just going to take.
Right. So getting into the first episode of, well, actually, for those who are watching this now on YouTube and may not realize, it's alluded in the very beginning. We have the opening title card where I mentioned that we started with 10 admin, and then somebody left and we dropped down to 9. So those of you playing know we had a HubSpot Taniwa with us. And then due to scheduling conflicts, he wasn't able to commit to the rest of the filming, which is a pretty significant chunk of time. We would spend about 2 hours every week getting together with filming content. And so obviously that's a big commitment. And so he had to be removed from the competition. But I remember when we were putting this challenge together for Dirty Data, I wasn't sure about the concept, like how would data enrichment play out in HubSpot? And I'm just curious to hear from all of you. What was your experience playing Dirty Data? Hub Vader, what did you think about it?
Honestly, I thought it was really entertaining. You don't realize how quickly those credits go until they go. And so just playing through that entire process was a whole experience on its own.
And speaking of credits getting spent up very quickly, I actually added that line. So I mentioned earlier that I recorded all of my lines. Everything you see on screen was recorded post-production. So after filming had been completed, and I wrote my lines out and I did a scripted version of reading the rules. And I did that because, Crispy, you did run out of credits. How pissed were you when that happened?
Man, I knew as soon as you were like speaking of credits being used, you were gonna target my ass. Fuck. Yeah, I was unhappy because I used my credits and they did fuck all for me. So I was filling in myself manually. So this is by far my worst challenge.
And I know a lot of the contestants or a lot of the viewers may not realize this, but the credits could be used really in a couple different ways, or they get spent quicker through a couple different methods. So one was it depended on what model you used. If you used the, I guess, smarter models that used more credits, but also there was the option to do web search. And web search gave you more accurate answers, but it used more credits more quickly. And so Crispy, out the gate, you actually took the lead pretty quickly, but then you stalled. And in the video we'll see coming up here, but we see you briefly, you're copying and pasting. And I had to cut out so many expletives because it was literally just 30 minutes of you copying and pasting domains and company names and CEO names. And so that was fun to watch in post-production. Matt Maker, what was your experience Dirty Data? I know in the confessional footage you mentioned that prompting wasn't something that you were super duper confident of, and you did. I mean, generally, I thought pretty good, better than I think you thought you did.
Yeah, I surprised myself in this one because I came into it thinking like, oh, I'm an AI noob. And I think we all end up in our own echo chambers where it's like, oh, I have lovely friends that I can learn from. You know, Brian's always creating, or Hub Vader's always creating new prompt guidance. And then you hang out with Nico for like 5 seconds and feel like an idiot because he knows so much about AI and prompting and modeling. And so I was like, I know the bare minimum coming into this. And then I like cruised through it and actually put some logic into it on the fly and was like, oh, wow, I'm actually kind of good at this. That's cool.
So Danielle, I was actually gonna ask generally to everybody after this game or any game, like how anybody has employed what you've learned through these games day to day and like your actual jobs. Like I'm curious if anybody has a cool anecdote related to that.
I actually did. I'm working on a like target audience campaign, and I was trying to identify a very, very specific ICP using Claude. And so I went in and was like, this is what I want. This is how I want it. This is how I want you to look for it. This is the output I want. Here's how I want you to validate it. And then turned on deep research and actually got exactly the list that I wanted, which was great. So like in this challenge specifically, it translated a little bit. It basically just built my confidence that I could go use AI for more things realistically and like learn the ways that I could trust it, and how to sort of cascade that information across and verify it. So definitely impacted.
I know that for Dirty Data, we meaning Bull and I actually went into the challenge pretty blind because other than a very quick demo video that Jack had sent us, all we had was the outline of how the game should work. And a lot of this was really learn as we go. But I think that one of the things that I know viewers didn't see, but you all seemed very pleased with, is comparing Dirty Data to the previous game experience, which we'll talk about now. So Crushing Calculations was the actual first game that we all played, and it involved essentially cleaning up one property or editing one property, which gave you access to another one. But all of the information was predicated on, or a lot of the information was predicated on finding information online. And of course, one of the questions was, for example, how many elite partners are there in the HubSpot ecosystem? And the morning of the challenge, HubSpot had updated their directory and changed the number, which meant when you all went to go find that answer, the data, the answer in the portal was different from what the math actually worked out to be. So how refreshing was it coming off of that experience where Dirty Data as a game was totally broken, and then we came in, or Crushing Calculations as a game was totally broken, and then we came into Dirty Data and there was like a playable experience.
Yeah, the Dirty Data was a really fun game because it was a very like even playing field. There was ways in which people might have some more familiarity with prompting, but from what Danielle was saying too, like really as long as you had your logic parameters down pat, like you could get somewhere, right? And then we all took our own approaches to it. So it was really refreshing to come in, especially because I know in the first game that we all played, like the competitive streak in all of us got so hot when something didn't work out correctly. And so I would actually be really interested to see like outtakes from that particular recording, even though it didn't make it into the show, because I'm sure there are just like a lot of opinions. And that actually was when Crispy and I first started talking, was after that first game, because I was on his hit list from the beginning. So pissed at that game not working that I was like, I think we actually think really similarly, even though we're playing this game from two like opposing perspectives, because you can't shut down when your competitive streak like gets that spiked.
I have so many questions about the experience of the game itself and how Admin Arena as a whole compared to what we all experience as standard usage in HubSpot. So I'm going to play the next clip and then we'll dig into
it. The game begins in 3, 1, go.
So I'm actually just going to take
60 seconds to regroup.
First thing I'm going to be doing is changing the view column. So I'm just going to be wiping all of this out straight away. Let's just nuke all of this.
We're looking to enrich properties, 210 companies, and enrich 3 properties for each one of those 210 companies.
We've got CEO name that we have to enrich. Got domain name, the arena area. And we also have the property industry.
I'm going to stick with Gemini 2.0 Flash until I get something wrong, just because it's cheap, so I can burn through a few rounds. And we're just off to the races.
Data, throttle, clear, open router.
Let's do a data essentials app. Data essentials, open router. Choose a value. I like Anthropic personally. Choose a value, Anthropic. Here's the prompt.
Gemini is cheap. That's why I'm using it. And then the prompt.
To find the URL of the company.
You need to determine what prompts and which AI models to plug in for existing data.
Maybe enriching 3 company data points on CRM. Blah, 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 blah. Actually, do you know what? That's actually going to confuse it. We're going to do one at a time. We're going to do one first. If we do all 3, it might, the return that we get might mess up the properties that we're enriching. So let's just do one at a time.
Missing.
All right, let's play Can You Spot the Fakes? So a lot of people who are watching this may or may not be able to catch it, but a lot of footage had to be recorded in post-production. So some of the gameplay that you see on screen actually wasn't from the day of filming. We had to recreate it. Does anybody's footage stand out? Some of you might know because I DM'd you, but other than calling yourself out, does anybody suspect any particular players of having simulated footage in the challenge? Go ahead and call them out.
I'm going to say maybe Rev Optimus Prime, just because his voiceover was so calm and collected while describing this, while the rest of us are like, put them 7 and do things. And
I'm going to take that as a compliment because none of it was re-recorded for me. And I just clearly had a very calm, apart from one of the sessions, maybe 2 of them. This one I was very calm. I was very much in my element, took it steadily. Wanted to narrate what I was doing, so no, it's all live in the moment.
Correct. Yeah, Rev Optimus Prime. Yours was not simulated. Fix It Ryan, totally faked. So all of his footage. Well, so his audio is from his gameplay. He recorded his camera. He didn't record his screen. So I had to go in and stitch together what he was saying with what he was doing. Same thing with Andre all day. A lot of the players who you see a little bit less of on screen is because their footage was simulated. I was trying to match up a lot of what was being said with what was being done. Mobsphere, you were one of the ones where I had your audio and I had your video, but I didn't have your screen. So it was really challenging, but fun in post-production to go back and take all the narration that you all were utilizing and then re-simulate what was happening on screen. Now, Rev Optimus Prime, to your point about being calm, I don't know how you did it. You definitely had the most relaxed demeanor throughout, not just this challenge, but every challenge. How did you maintain that composure? Is this just you live in HubSpot and your brain is one with the ecosystem? Like, how does this work for you?
Definitely a couple of meditation sessions the day before to keep calm. But equally, it was later in the day for me when filming, so all the problems of the day had passed, and so this was like the fun end to the day for me. So this was like a refreshing element to it.
And that, of course, leads me to bring up the fact that you mentioned this was fun. Crispy, you built an agency, ran it. You've seen HubSpot from all different angles. How did this gameplay experience being in the admin arena compare to standard HubSpot usage? Like, how do you describe being in the arena to just being an admin and using HubSpot?
Two things. I think, and this is what I learned about everyone in this group, that and whoever's running me can fuck off.
Here's what I've learned. Everyone in this group is way better than I thought they were, to be honest, and way better than I think the caliber of HubSpot admins are and HubSpot partners, frankly. Like this type of stuff is real admin. Like this is the real world of how people operate with customers or in their own business. So and I can say that as like an ex-partner and someone who like built a business around it. This was tough. And this is like the new age of how admins are. Like it's more than an admin now. You are like an engineer, a creator, an optimizer, like all of these different things. So yeah, it was very cool. It's different in the sense of this is the elite of the elite, and we're just better is the answer.
Matt Maker, Mobs Fairy, what is your thought on being in the arena versus simply being an admin? How was the experience for you?
I just love Crispy's humility. He was gonna run away with it because none of us are gonna be that good. No, I agree though in terms of like the day-to-day operations of HubSpot are different from the types of things that we did in Admin Arena, because Admin Arena was very much problem solving on the fly, needing to understand architecture and systems as well as just creativity, right? Like there was not a single challenge that I can think of that somebody was like, oh, I have an SOP of how to do this. Let me go and follow it, and I can now execute on this and have a good score. No, like it was, whether it was the time constraints or the credit constraints or just that it was, we were playing hide and seek in the middle of HubSpot and the oddity of it, right? Like these are not things that you run into in the real world. But at the same time, it uses the same skills that those exceptional admin engineers who are more on the strategist side definitely do leverage. So yeah, it was very different, but definitely used the same parts of the brain.
Yeah, I spent like 50% of the games just in awe of like, how did you build this? I can't believe you came up with this. I never would have thought to like build it this way, especially with like the scoring systems on the back end and the way that you were tracking things, like totally blew my mind. I'm very good at my job because I can take information and reorganize it and spit it back to someone and make it make more sense. I am not the person, and this is what I learned in my marketing career, I am not the person to come up with your creative briefs. Like my brain thinks in systems and charts, and I don't have the capacity on most days to think in like broad, you know, blue ocean terms in the way that you all have to bring the games to life. And so I was under pressure, but as when I got into it, like there was parallels to what I understand about my client systems, but the way that it was applied and the way that we played the games was so far apart.
Well, and that's actually a great point too. I was going to mention this, especially with the dirty data competition itself. The reason we call Cameron super admin is because he has to be the admin for other super admins, meaning we have to prep the data, we have to test the games. Like you have to make sure everything is all set up so that the scoring makes sense and it works and it all flows properly. So like credit to him, like not only coming up with the games, like you were saying, Danielle, but also having to then structure all the data, purposely put in things that were wrong so that they had to be enriched and changed. And then the scoring worked. And then all the video editing and recording after the fact. I mean, just like a lot. I mean, how many games were there? 5, 6, 7, 20? I don't even know at this point.
Altogether, if we're including crushing calculations, it was 10 games. Because we had 2 in episodes 2, 3, and 4. The finale was one, and crushing calculations was its own. So I believe that was 10 total games.
And the reason I bring that up, sorry to cut you off, Cameron.
No, go.
When people are asking about like, you know, ideas for season 2, just keep that in mind. Is like you have to prep the data. You have to remember that everybody is a super admin in the system, right? So you can see everybody else's stuff. You really can't control what people can and can't do because you need everyone to be a super admin. So as you're thinking of ideas for season 2, keep that in mind because it's really the hardest part of setting the games up.
And to give Bull an immense amount of credit, he helped a lot with data formatting, building reports that were set up for scoring. So I did go in and do a lot of the architecture for what could these games look like, how would it operate, how do we want to do scoring. But he also did a lot behind the scenes with building the reports, building the scores and such. And so overall creating the admin arena, and then we had other people helping us test things behind the scenes, but overall creating it really was a team effort. But really the hardest part was, how do you take HubSpot admin who are all amazing at their job and deconstruct their skills into something that isn't just, well, here's a workflow, go build it the quickest. And so that's where we'll get into the elimination challenge and the handicaps that we put on some of you for that. We'll talk about that in a second here. But that was really the hard part, is how do we make this something that can be gamified beyond just a race? I'm going to play another clip here, and we're going to break down the next segment of the show.
Hi, Don. Clone. Cancel. Clone this action.
Sean's footage is fake.
Okay, all right. No, we're going to do it 17. Okay, let's go quickly. Text. Consumer goods. Okay, that's the closest we're going to get. Okay, let's hope that some of these are consumer goods, because we are basically done.
Response to the AI. Instead of this, we want a different response to the AI. We want action outputs. We want this response to the AI. Save. Test, go!
Still running. I probably should have run this in the background, just in case, because this is still running, and I'm SOL because need to hurry up. Need to hurry up. I need to hurry up.
We had about 15 minutes of Timmy singing to himself.
Hurry up.
Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, let's hope we've got the dub.
Oh,
We had some good luck, but then we did it.
that was me. Yeah, that was me for sure.
So one thing that I do want to call out, just to commend Rev Optimus Prime, most players generally jumped in and built some lists or views to be able to see like what was true and false. He built a dashboard. And so most of that didn't. I almost tried to. I was trying to incorporate it into the episode, and I just couldn't make it really fit in with the timing and the narrative. But hats off to you, man, because you spent the first like 5 minutes literally building out a dashboard to track your own points.
It helped,
and then that was before you even actually jumped into building stuff. And then you still pulled out, I think, as the leader in points.
It was a slow start, and I felt that I didn't get straight into execution, but I learned from the first challenge that I was quite quick to like read things and like potentially overlook a couple of things. So it also helps like solidify how I wanted to execute, because we're doing something that is somewhat normal, enriching data, but doing it in such a short period of time. It helped me make less mistakes. There was still a couple, but yeah, and visually it was appealing as well.
We'll move into the voting here in a second, and again, all of this footage where you see on the screen of me talking was recorded after the fact. I've got the Admin Plus sticker in the background and all of those things, which were not as polished, and what the original footage was just plain white studio in my room here. As we finished Dirty Data, were there any of you who thought, I'm totally screwed and I'm going home this week? Crispy, you thought you were screwed. It looks like you felt least confident.
Oh yeah, because I ran out of credits like fucking immediately.
Well, it helped you that it was either Fix It Ryan or Andre All Day, but one of the two of them never turned on. I think it was Fix It Ryan. He never turned on his workflow. So he built, all of you built a separate workflow for each point criteria. He built one workflow to do it all, and so it was his intention.
Yeah,
was
watching
to cascade it,
his,
but he never turned it on.
Watching all of the footage of just his workflow build in the episode like was insane to me, because this is the only time in any game where I felt like I actually played the game appropriately and like did things stepwise and didn't do it how I would do it as an admin, like very much did it just for the game and for points. And that worked. And he was like building structure so that things would be enriched for the next 200 years appropriately to execute on for a business to make them money. Like he went all in to do all of this really hefty build work, and it's incredible, but it did not work well for the game. And I wish I had learned from that early, because that's what got me out later, was building for real use case life and not for gameplay.
Yeah, definitely had to play for the game during the arena. It was very different than direct application of real world experience. I'm going to play through the voting booths, and then we'll talk a little bit about the social dynamics behind the scenes of the game.
With the most votes, we'll be joining Fix It Ryan and Andre All Day in the deletion challenge. As a reminder, you cannot vote for Rev Optimus Prime.
I am voting for Sarah Lane Hahn. She is on to me and almost exposed my alliance during the games, and so she will be removed.
I voted for Crispy just because he needs to be voted until he's gone. He's got to be done here.
I voted for the Dungeon Master. Yeah, so like 100% trying to break up the Crispy Dungeon Master Lil Chicken alliance.
This week, I'm voting the HubSpot Dungeon Master. Even the sharpest Dungeon Master must eventually close the campaign.
This is a hard one, but I'm going to vote for Map Maker.
I'm voting for Map Maker. I'm voting you off because this map leads straight to elimination.
Who should we vote for this week? We put the vote on Sean.
Okay, so I voted for Mapmaker. The reason why I voted for Mapmaker is because I know that she's together with Mops Fairy and with Darth Vader.
I went after him. I'm having a suspicion that he would go after himself as a whole mind game for people.
Yeah, so the social dynamics were an important part of Admin Arena. And for those of you who are watching us talk about this live, what you may not realize is that all the players were instructed that they weren't allowed to communicate outside of the official Admin Arena Slack that we had. And they were instructed to do it with Slack groups where Bull and I would be added so we could keep tabs on the social dynamics. But everyone, I think, thought that Crispy was this evil mastermind, and he kind of was. So, Crispy, was it this week that you had your diabolical setup, or was that another week?
I think it was the following week that I pulled the most brilliant plan off, but yeah, the social piece of this game is likely why I won, because I'm not the best admin here. I can definitely say that, but I am the best social player here, and that's why I won.
You definitely, I think, did well at committing to the social aspect of the game, and you had some trickery up your sleeve, which will be revealed in following episodes. Mobs Fairy, how did you feel as you were like getting into the social dynamic, kind of getting pulled into some of the different chats? Was there any element of like, this is just a game, like these people are being stupid, or like, did you think, oh boy, everyone actually wants to be my friend and like we can all get to the end together?
I was super surprised when we started the game how quickly alliances had formed. And like I literally had, I can't remember who it was, somebody that I reached out to, because I reached out very softly to everybody within like the very beginning of the game. And somebody was like, wait, aren't you already part of one of the two alliances? And I'm like, there's two alliances? And so from the very beginning, I didn't even know there were alliances or what was happening. And so then I was scrambling because apparently I was part of an alliance that I didn't know existed and didn't sign up for. So there was this make-believe alliance of me and Mapmaker and Hub Vader who had not at all talk to each other to develop an alliance. In fact, like Danielle and I were very candid with each other. That's like, you're my number one to take out. Like, yes, we're friends outside of this game, but like we're not playing nice here. So it was really funny to like see how perception guided a lot of the voting and a lot of the navigation of this versus reality. But by, I think it was the second game, I had my notebook out and I was calculating and tallying votes against what people had told me, against what people had told me about other people. And so I was like very quickly trying to map out the social game of who was lying, who had a track record of lying, who was covering for other people, who could I maybe benefit from at some point in time, and who was completely worthless to me as a player. So it definitely got very like intense strategically from a social game very quickly.
Now, Hub Vader, you have played the chaotic neutral player and strategy throughout this event. I'd love to hear from you on how you went about the social dynamic. Because I think from my perspective, you were pretty unamused with the social part. You were just here for the fun of it.
Oh yeah, I was here for maximum trollage, and so anyone was just like, "Oh yeah, you're with this person in the alliance." I was like, "Yeah, of course I am." Like, and I just kind of like I went with that for everyone asking, or if everyone's like, "Hey, you want to be in alliance?" I would say no, and it was basically trying to read and understand what's the thing that's going to actually make the person go like, "What? Go for that." And like that even came down to who I was voting for. Like, it boiled down to like, okay, like basically I picked one person, Crispy, it just happened to be you. I literally rolled a 10-sided die, assigned all of you a number, rolled a die, and whatever number it was, that was the person who would fucking die. And it just happened to be an 8, and that was you, Crispy. And so you basically were my shit list person the entire competition. And that's all, and like everything else was just completely like a
If it was
manifestation
a
of just
10-sided die, you would be on your own list.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You just rolled
No,
again.
you're entirely right. I was number 3, and I didn't roll number 3. But if I was number 3, I was going to intentionally self-sabotage and try and be the absolute worst player there, so that I basically have to force myself into elimination, and then kind of keep it up like I'm trying, but also like not make it seem like I'm intentionally screwing myself over.
We definitely got to a point where between Brian and I, we were like, this is such a time suck. One of us has to go. And like our business can't run if we're both completely out of the game on Thursdays. So there was definitely a point where Brian and I were like, all right, who's gonna throw it? Like who's gonna fail? I was like, I'm not. Like, I'm gonna get people to vote you off. So I tried to do that. And I like sent everybody a message when we went into voting, but then there was no voting or something. Like there was some reason where I messaged absolutely everybody in a split second and was like, vote Brian in, get him out of here, vote him into the elimination. And Cameron was like, and today there's no voting. I was like,
Oh yeah, I think that was the week of the we had an auto elimination week where you were just automatically out based on losing. Brian, did you know that Danielle had turned on you and said we got to get him out?
I had no clue. We kind of talked about it, but again, it didn't influence my play at all. It was like, oh, okay, well, whether or not you decided to be best friend or turn on me, I'm just like, okay, cool. Well, what's the dice going to say today? And that's going to be the chaos it unfolds.
And final question in terms of social dynamic: if we recorded conversations, so instead of doing it in Slack, if we found a way to make the gameplay and the recording of the actual day of events a little bit more streamlined, would anybody feel like they would actually show up and attend recorded dialogue to talk about gameplay in a recorded session? Or do we feel like Slack is the way to go from a time standpoint?
Slack.
It depends on what kind of liar you are. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people were slacking, and you can do that a lot easier without people being able to read you than you can if you're having to talk to them. My gameplay would have been completely different if I needed to be in the room talking to people than doing it via Slack. It would have completely changed the social game. So I think either could work, but it will completely change the social game depending on which you choose.
Something interesting to think about as we set up season 2. Yeah, the social element definitely had a role in the game, as we saw here in episode 1. Bottom 2 players were automatically up for elimination, and then you had the voting, and then those who took the bottom 2 in terms of voting had the most votes cast against them were now up for elimination with them. So there's definitely a goal on my end to make the social element a little bit more balanced, but also more impactful with season 2. But it was fun seeing all of you have that competition and actually take the social element seriously to a degree, other than Brian, who was here for the lulls. I want to do an overview of the gameplay for the elimination challenge, and we'll talk about what that experience was like. Matt Maker, I'm keen to hear your opinion here.
A catch. You cannot use your mouse. Using only your keyboard, you will be building this workflow. Now, the player who comes in last with enrolling their player name contact record into the workflow to become an SQL will be deleted from the Admin Arena HubSpot portal and will have their account deleted from the competition. Head to your starting rooms. The game begins on go. 3, 2, 1, go.
The tab. Where are we even starting? Tab. I'm in the right place. Enter. Yes.
I need to tab around a whole bunch to figure out when I can get there. So we want to do when filter criteria is met. We want contact properties. We want last name.
All right, on to the next one. Oh man, why did that not set? Okay, not good. Come on.
Okay. Tab. Nope. Ah, shit.
Save, enter. That starts all the way at the top, so you got to keep tabbing through.
Okay.
And it was 30 minutes of that. So, Matt Baker, when you heard what the challenge was going to be, did you realize how difficult and challenging it was going to be as I was explaining it?
Definitely. I know that you modeled this after a LinkedIn post that Kyle did. And after you said that, I remembered seeing it. That was like years ago, but Kyle's that memorable.
I will say, like, when Cameron explained what this game was going to be. Cameron, do you remember the anecdote that I told you?
Tell us all.
So it's like a long-standing story that Goldman Sachs, as their like interns, they don't get a mouse on day one. They have to learn how to navigate Windows, Excel, everything just using keyboard shortcuts. And so as Cameron was explaining to me what the premise of this game was, I was like, good thing there's no Goldman Sachs analysts in this game because they will crush it in like 10 seconds. And so as I was like playing with the game, I was like holding down like Control Shift, like tab and holding like 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, boom. I was there. Okay, now I can just do it. So it took like 3, 4, 5 times for us to even go through it together to do it in 10 minutes ish. I don't even remember. But it was just like, yeah, there's people who do this all day long. It's funny. Awful. Right.
I had 2 realizations with this one. I wasn't in the elimination, but I realized one thing. I didn't know you could do that in HubSpot. I was like tab all over the place. I had no clue. So that was realization 1. Realization 2, I was like, oh, Cameron's out to bully us. Like, this is it. Like, how the rest of the games are going to be.
Has anybody built the workflow you only tabbing since then?
No.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
Definitely not. Yeah, no, like when it came up, like I know Danielle was just like, fuck, what did I get myself into? This is just like, it was just like the Slack was exploding and just like pure profanity and just rage.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you just liked me goodbye. Like as soon as that came up, it was something that was just like, and I'm done, clearly. So go win it.
I was in Mexico on vacation. And I was like, God, I hope I don't get into the elimination round because the kids are going to come back. My husband has an appointment he has to get to. So literally as the timer started, my kids walked in. My husband like dropped them and ran because he had to get to his appointment. And my older daughter like walked around. It didn't make it in. I was looking for the sound clip. She was like, you can do it, mommy. And I was like, shut up. And then my 3-year-old was rolled in a stroller sleeping and then like woke up cranky in the middle of this. And I was like, we just got to get through.
Yeah, we have some exciting plans for season 2 of Bowl, you and I have talked about some of the games in mind. How can we turn up the notch to make it even more devious, like this challenge? I know this one was a little frustrating to go through, but I think it was really fun to not only watch as the viewer, because I think most of us would never even think that this is a thing. But even for me, I remember I practiced so much. I think I got my record time down to like 6 or 7 minutes. And then, Bull, you were like, oh, yeah, you can press Shift Tab and go backwards. And I think some of you, even during the gameplay, didn't realize you could do that. So, like my first run-throughs, it was just tabbing a million times. And then when you realize you could Shift Tab, that helps because now you can just go backwards a step, which Sean figured out pretty quickly. And so he was actually one of the first to complete the challenge and survive out on playing it.
Yeah,
Are
fun
there any
fact,
of
you can
you?
use that. You can use that on basically any website or any application, period, and it's amazing.
Are there any of you who would be down to play this just for funsies?
Danielle's having PTSD right now.
No thanks. I've got other games to play for fun.
I'm going to play the final parts of the episode and we'll wrap with our conversation, because the part where somebody goes home is really the sad bit for me, because we spent all this time building up relationships and we spent a lot of time obviously having conversations around the gameplay and stuff. And so when we announce somebody going home, that's a sad moment.
Immediately removed from the HubSpot portal for the admin. To the rest of you remaining, I hope you pay close attention in next week's challenge, because the games are only going to become more and more tricky. See you next week in the admin arena.
Right. So Andre Alday lost the challenge. He got sent home. And I remember when we did this live, and we filmed it a couple different ways, but I really liked the notion of you lose the challenge, you're immediately removed from the portal. You're immediately removed from the chat. And that was fun. Then we did that and everyone had a fun reaction. So how did we feel after week 1?
It was really surprising to just be like, and he's gone. Like, we all reacted because it truly was that surprising. And then all of a sudden you like have all this build up. We were talking to each other, forming these alliances. We're in the admin arena Slack, and then they're just not there. And that was really surprising. And when I got eliminated later, it was, spoiler alert, it was just like, oh, sad. Like, I don't actually want this to be over. That was really fun.
Yeah, Andre Alday and Fix It Ryan were my week 1 alliance.
I thought you didn't have any alliances.
I didn't until we started the game for this game.
A lot of wishy-washy stuff going on.
By the end of the episode, I had some alliances happening. So for this episode, Fix It Ryan and Andre Alday were supposed to vote with me. Fix It Ryan was a little squirrely. But as soon as Andre Alday was gone, I was like, well, this is going well for me. I totally aligned with people who are going to be sticking it out.
If there's anything that you would do differently, so if you were to go into season 2 and you were to play it differently in any aspect, what would you do differently? Hub Vader, we'll start with you.
Do differently. Well, I think knowing how it played out and having gotten the entertainment value of the chaotic, I think what I definitely would have played it a little bit more like, okay, let's actually build the strategy, run through this in a way that's just not let's just watch the world burn.
Matt Maker.
Or maybe I'll do it again and that was all a lie. You don't know.
Yeah, I prepared a lot for the data challenge. I read through all the training material, watched the videos, did the practice rounds. Like, I went into that full force. And it paid off for sure as compared to some other challenges where I maybe didn't prepare so much. So I think I would dedicate more time to that. And I think on the social aspect, I was just kind of like, I don't know what's happening. I have some friends here. Maybe I don't, whatever. But there was no real thought or strategy or plotting. And I would put a lot more effort and thought into that as well.
Mobs Fairy, going into season 2, is there anything you'd do differently, or would you play it in a different way?
For the challenges, I definitely would approach them differently. I think I came in with the mindset of I'm really good at figuring out how to do things efficiently and effectively, and I'm just gonna be able to enjoy the problem. And then the time limitations and the gamification of things really got to me. And so I think going into it with fresh eyes of like, this is a game. Doesn't matter if I know anything about HubSpot. I need to go in here as if I have no expectations and I'm not building this for a client. And I think I would work a lot faster. From a social aspect, the numbers of how things like broke down and how easily an alliance could kind of take over and run the game was something that annoyed me as soon as I figured out how it could work. But I think if I went back into season 2 or a future season, I would do a little bit more of mapping out just those numbers and understanding what I was up against.
Crispy, you played into the social aspect. I know you said that as an admin, you felt like you were maybe one of the weaker links. How would you do season 2?
I would. I would build a line. Go ahead.
I was going to say, which, fun fact, I think a lot of players kind of jumped into the we're going to get Crispy out train. I think the only one who had a real consistent, strong vendetta against you was Lil Chicken. From day one, he was like, I won't even vote for Crispy because I want to beat him. I want to be in an elimination challenge with him and beat him.
Yeah. Yeah, he had it out for me for sure. I mean, like in my job now, I don't do a lot of administrative things. I don't keep up with HubSpot product updates anymore. It's just not my life. And so going into season 2, I would need to brush up on my skill set of how I do admin stuff. And I would lean more into the social aspect because that's how I would conquer my lack of admin abilities compared to the rest of you. So it would be more social games. I would bribe people. Like I'd fucking backstab. Like, I don't care. Like this is, yeah. I would go like this was level 2 for me. I could go to 10 and that's exactly how I would do it.
The irony of saying that with a happiness project shirt is perfect.
I also was going to say the things that I learned after watching the Admin Plus Bracket Awards, the shenanigans that went down and that voting for the Super Admin Plus was next level. I learned some things.
Yeah, so that's the taste for season 2 of what I can make happen.
Yeah, and that's a consistent challenge, is balancing the social aspect so that it's relevant, but also making it so that winning or losing isn't entirely dependent on who has the most friends. Yeah. And so we have some ideas for how to bring a stronger balance to both aspects, but stay tuned for that. Rev Optimus Prime, you, I felt, played well into the social aspect, and you played a strong administrative game with every challenge. What would you do differently if you were to go into season 2 or redo season 1?
I definitely think the balance was there, but one of the things that I could have done better was simulate the time pressure in an environment better with myself. Like I did some training and I was like, okay, cool. I've blocked out an hour in my calendar. I'll like look at this tool. I'll test some things. But what I didn't do was say, I have 15 minutes to solve this problem and like simulate that better. And I feel like that would have just helped get me the edge in a couple of the games.
God, that's such a
schedule it between meetings. That'll put the pressure on.
No wonder you're Rev Optimus Prime. That's such a fucking robotic answer. I'm simulating time scenarios. God,
it's true. You train hard so that competitions are easy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for everybody though. So after the Dirty Data challenge, when we found out that Rev Optimus Prime like killed it, and none of us were basically on the chart in comparison, what was everybody's thoughts of if they should build an alliance, because this was somebody who was clearly going to be around for challenges, versus this is somebody you need to take out? Because I was immediately split after that challenge. Like I was like, I either have to take you out and like you need to go away because you're too good at this, or I need to build an alliance with you because you're going to be around. And so I'm curious, did anybody else have like an immediate gut reaction based off of that challenge of how they needed to interact with Rev Optimus Prime?
Hub Vader, Matt Maker, Crispy.
I mean, me and Lewis had an alliance before that challenge, so I can't really answer it.
Yeah, it was before that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess it was like the keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't ever dictate who I partnered with before a challenge based upon their performance in a challenge, because I don't know, I just didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. I built alliances like day one when we got into Slack. I was like, boom, creating
I'm
a Slack.
sorry, are you trying to have an ethical argument here, Crispy?
No,
That's the right thing to do?
No, that's not. It's not ethical. No, it's not ethical at all. It was very unethical actually, because I chose. So this is my thought process was I knew Lewis was going to be the best, and I still think Lewis is the best admin. Like period. Like yeah, straight up. And I was like, cool. Like very much. Yeah, keep your friends close, enemies closer. I knew Lewis was going to be formidable in the games, and so I was like, cool. Like he's the first person I reached out to. So it was not ethical. It was more strategic, where it's like I need to keep him close and then play the social game and win in the end.
Hub Vader, Matt Maker, did you two either ever look at Lewis as a strong player or anybody else as a strong player and then feel split between get them out because they're a threat versus keep them close because they might help me get further?
I feel like based on all of my answers this far, this should not be a question that I answer.
Chaotic neutral. We got you.
Yeah.
Get a
What you
20-sided
saying?
die ready for season 2.
Yeah,
Matt Maker?
Yeah, nah. I've got 100-sided dies in the corner. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, my social game was just not up to par. It was not there. It just felt like such a schedule crunch. I didn't make more brain space for that side of it. That's why if I go into season 2 or any future seasons, that will be top of mind. So I was never thinking about who was my biggest competitor. I was like, well, Brian and I need to figure out our schedules so that we can actually throw up for clients. And then Sarah and I were like, let's behind the scenes, we'll stick it out to the end, but also I want to take her down personally. And that was the only kind of social aspect. And that was all based on real world relationships. That wasn't based on gameplay or anything. But after that round with Dirty Data and the stupid tab game, I was back on vacation. So I just shut my laptop and forgot about everything.
It definitely didn't help, I think, as far as you're on vacation, you go into the gameplay. This is a somewhat work-related type of thing, and then you go back to vacation. So I hope, though, that this was
It was fun.
A fun approach to the type of stuff that obviously we do in HubSpot on a regular basis. A lot of people have asked me about who I was betting would win from the beginning, so I'm not going to answer that. But I will say that I did have some people that I noticed as the games went on were stronger at certain type of things. So it was easier to determine who would be a little bit more analytical, who would be more sensitive to the time-based challenges. And I think that if I were to make a bracket, I don't know that I would be able to get to the end winner for who won Admin Arena, but I think that I definitely was able to notice the trends pretty quickly for who's a little bit quicker, who's a little bit slower. But that didn't always mean that you won or lost the challenge. So there were a lot of other variables like the social aspect that also became relevant too.
What I'm hearing is you're going to adopt my strategy, roll a die, and that's how it works.
Yeah, basically. Political
What
answer.
I just heard was I'm Cameron's favorite, and he knew I was going to win the whole thing from day one.
See, Sarah, I don't know what to believe anymore. You're probably the most strategic player because it's like I didn't have alliances, and it's like I had alliances with this guy from day one.
By the end of day one, yeah, I'm fast, man.
She's quick to
Beginning
make
of
friends.
day one, I'm like, what has just happened? And then by the end of day one, I had talked to every single player and mapped out where I thought they were.
You know what you need to do is in next season have another baby and just make an alliance with the baby, and then everyone else and just use that as a
Okay,
strategy.
so that is one thing that we didn't talk about was in that first episode, what was happening behind the scenes was a Slack thread of me going, when's the pee break? When do we get to have the bathroom break, Cameron? When are you going to let us go to the bathroom? Because I was a million months pregnant and I wouldn't give us breaks.
Yeah, and again, the filming of the episodes is challenging because the final cut here we get 20 minutes. It looks like everybody finishes at the same time. It looks like I'm explaining the rules in 2 minutes, but in actuality, it's 2 hours, really probably closer to 2.5 hours of recording by the time we all meet up, start recording, bathroom breaks, the whole, I mean, everything start to finish. So the production element of this was a big challenge. And I mean, again, we're looking to do bigger things for season 2. So the logistics of that scale, but really, I just want to say thank you to all of you for participating in season 1. Thank you to all of the players who participated in season 1, to all of our sponsors who were a part of the experience putting together games, contributing to the prize pool. Thank you to everybody who's been watching and following along with this journey. Producing this has been a heck of a time. Working with all of these players to be involved in these games has been an amazing experience. I think my hope is that we keep this going long enough for a family episode in 20 years. Sarah, you can have baby on with you, and we'll have a family style competition.
He screamed in my one and only HubSpot related meeting recently until I put him down. So I do not think he's a fan of this line of work and will not be joining the family business.
My 6-year-old was drawing schematics and plans. She is ready.
Yeah,
We can throw her in at any
Danielle's got the
time.
next.
Awesome.
She's got the next round.
That's awesome.
So we'll do parent-child dynamics if we can get enough families to do a blitz round. But yes, thank you to everybody who was involved. Thank you to all of the players for being a part of this. It was an amazing and a massive production effort. Bull, thank you to you and everybody behind the scenes. And I cannot wait for us to do the breakdown of episode 2, which will be airing on YouTube shortly. Sprocket on.